If you've got some revenues, but you are not scaling those revenues, you're not growing at the rate that you want to be growing, you're not figuring out how to get more customers beyond maybe your existing network, that's how you got those initial revenues, whatever it may be, here's the big question. What's broken? What's broken in your go-to-market strategy? After having worked with over 100 founders with their go-to-market strategy, specifically in B2B SaaS, after working in my own companies on go-to-market strategy, in this episode, I'm going to walk you through the 3 principles that you absolutely need to know to diagnose your go-to-market strategy and figure out what area you need to actually revamp so that you can kickstart growth and accelerate growth. And when you follow these 3 principles, you too will be able to accelerate the growth of your SaaS business. Intro. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Unstoppable. I'm TK, and on this channel, I help SaaS founders like you grow your SaaS businesses faster with an unstoppable strategy. Now, if you are new to this channel, welcome. I drop an episode every single Sunday with actionable strategies and tactics from the trenches on how to grow your SaaS business faster. Now, if you want to be notified every single time I drop an episode, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and that bell icon so that you'll get a notification every single time I drop an episode with the TK energy. Now, if you're already part of this community, if you're part of my go-to-market coaching programs, my people, welcome back. It's really awesome to see you over here. So I remember I was on a call with a founder and they were having trouble scaling. They had saturated their existing network, so they couldn't get any new customers through just favors and existing network and referrals. And they were trying to actually run ads. They were trying to do content marketing. They were trying a bunch of different things to figure out how to get more customers and how to scale growth. They knew they had a great product. They had happy customers, but they couldn't get more customers. So that was a real problem. And I remember we were talking through it and he's like, I already know. I'm like, okay, what do you know? He's like, it's the channel. We're using this specific channel and that's just not the right channel. We need to go to these 3 other channels and that's where we're gonna get to the promised land. It was like the go-to-market version of the one more feature trap, which we talk about in the channel, in this channel all the time. That was a lot of channels, but you know what I mean. And I was like, I can almost certainly assure you it is not the channel. And so we disagreed and we're like, you know what, that's totally fair. Let's just follow our framework and diagnose what's going on. And then based on that, we'll figure out what you need to revamp. And my whole point was it's never just the channel, it's other things that compounds and you just see it in the channel. And just moving to another channel is not gonna help you solve those issues and you just waste more money and time, burning runway, trying to figure out growth on another channel. So anyway, that was the impetus of the discussion. And so we followed a very specific process to actually diagnose the go-to-market strategy and figure out how to actually unlock growth. And so in this episode, I'm gonna walk you through the exact process we went through as an example. And hopefully based on that, you'll be able to understand what area of your go-to-market strategy is broken, what you need to do to actually fix it so you can kickstart growth. So if you're excited digging into principle number 1, go ahead and smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm and let's go into principle number 1. So principle number 1 is gonna be outcomes. Before we figure out what's broken and what the strategy is, we actually have to understand the outcomes we are getting. And so in this specific go-to-market example, there were 3 outcomes that stuck out to me as we were talking through it. This is why in my head, I was already starting to diagnose, okay, based on all the pattern recognition I now have, having worked with over 100 companies at this stage, this is exactly like I can pick up patterns pretty quickly. And so the outcomes though were essentially, there were ads they were running and there was engagement, meaning people liked it, people looked at it, and Facebook does a great job of highlighting all the amazing things it's doing as you're giving it money, even though there was very little money / conversion coming through. So lots of engagement, but not a lot of conversion, right? So they were already seeing that. The second thing was they were doing social content, right, on the social channels, so which is organic and it's free, thank God. But again, there was actually no engagement and no conversion, not even leads. So they were seeing that. And they were seeing a little bit of success on outbound. So they were doing outbound, but it was like 1 to 2 for like thousands of emails sent, and that converted to revenues. They were getting some success through this thing, but it was like not anything compared to the number of emails and the number of people that they were reaching out to. And so based on this, they were like, it's the channels that we're focused on. Like that's what's broken. We need to go do activities in other channels. Immediately I was like, it's not the channels, right? Like you have enough of the channels. And there's a little bit of a trap here where as soon as you get this 1 to 2 deals, depending on your deal sizes, you're like, oh, like it's not that bad. But you also have to look at it like, this is no way that we're gonna scale and hit our 12-month revenue numbers if we keep keep doing this. And we're burning cash on ads. We're spending time and money on social content. We're doing outbound and burning our brand, and all these people are not responding. Like, there's something broken over here. Whenever I have outcomes like this specific example, instead of jumping to like, we should change the strategy or throw everything out, I always look at, well, let's diagnose this first. And so if principle number one is to really get clear on what your outcomes are, what you're seeing, the principle number two is you should diagnose that. And almost always with go-to-market, it breaks down, this is principle number two, it breaks down into three key areas that you want to diagnose and understand. Let's use a different pen for this. There's almost always three areas that you can dig into. The first is activity, and I'll explain what each of these are. The second is the message. And the third is the targeting. Two T's. So let's break these down one at a time. The activity. Activity is how many reps you're doing on a weekly basis. If you're doing outbound, how many outbound emails are you sending? If you're doing social posts, how many social posts are you doing on a weekly basis? If you are running ads, it's how many impressions are you driving on a daily basis based on your budget. So activity is essentially the first thing I want to diagnose, because if you don't have sufficient activity, then you don't stand a chance. It's a noisy world out there. It's kind of like if someone's out there like, oh, I did one social post and nothing happened, and I did it once a month. It's like, you did one social post. It means nothing. But if they're like, look, I posted every single day and it's been 8 weeks and here's the results that I got, then okay, then we can start to say maybe activity is not the problem. But if you are not driving enough activity, oftentimes it means that you don't have enough data to really know whether everything else is working or not. So that's the first thing I look at. Are you driving sufficient activity? In their case, they were spending thousands of dollars on ads, so they were driving sufficient activity. They were sending tons of outbound emails. They were driving sufficient activity. They had social content. They were driving sufficient activity. So I'm like, okay, it's not the activity. Got it. Again, you can't just jump to the channel or whatever, like this is broken. It's like you want to break through these things. That's the power in this. So once you have figured out whether it's activity or not, then you say, cool, there's enough at-bats going on, meaning we are getting the message out there. Maybe the problem is the message. And that's the second thing I look at. I try to understand what is the value proposition you are bringing. What is the manifesto, like the big transformation you're bringing into the market? Does it make sense? Is it tied to a clear result that this person is going to get or this business is going to get? So when activity is checked off, when you have enough activity, then I look at what's the message and what's working with the message, what principles are being followed with the message and what's not. That's the second thing I look at. Looking at the message on its own is really hard. Like I can't just look at your value prop and say, yeah, this is good or this is bad, because it really, really depends on this third piece. So in a way, I first look at the message to see if it's just terrible. If the message is okay and plausible, I'm like, okay, that's a reasonable message. Like I can see someone allocating budget for that or clicking on that. Then I look at the targeting also, meaning who is the specific group of people that this is for. And the better the targeting, the better the message. The worse the targeting, the worse and more diluted the message. The more worse and diluted the message, doesn't matter how much activity you drive, the worse it's going to be. But if you have great targeting and you have a great message and you have even moderate amounts of activity, it'll still hit really well. That's the power in this. And so in a way, this influences how good this is going to be, and this influences how good this is going to be. The worse this is, the worse this is going to be, and the worse this is going to be, no matter how many activities you pull. Which is why, as principle number two, before jumping to conclusions on what the strategy is and how it should change or whether it's good or bad, I always look at it first on what are the outcomes, and then I look at what's the activity level, what is the message, and what is the targeting. And based on those three tiers, it helps me understand where the problem might be, helps me diagnose exactly what's going on with a founder when we're working together. So let me just pause here for a second before we go into how this impacted the strategy and the results that they saw. So let me just pause here for a second. I start to see the power in this. If you're at that stage where you have some revenues and you're doing a bunch of marketing activities, or you're starting to do a bunch of marketing activities, and you're trying to figure out why are we not converting as much? Why are we not getting as much engagement? It's very, very easy to jump into another shiny channel and say, well, that channel sucks, right? Or that messaging sucks. But it's a lot more nuanced than that. It's a lot harder to do, but if you do it, you actually save yourself more time to actually diagnose it in the sequence of events: activity, message, targeting. So if you start to see the power in this, can I just get a yes in the comments below? And also smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm. It really, really likes it when you do that. It's really awesome. Also, if you're in the stage where you have some revenues and you need a much more scalable go-to-market strategy, and you want the step-by-step actions to follow and my coaching, this is exactly why I created my SaaS go-to-market coaching program. The link for more details for that is below. I'll tell you more about it at the end of this video. But right now, let's go to principle number 3, which brings this all together. Okay, so principle number 3 is the actual strategy, right? This is where it all comes together. And based on the outcomes and what you are seeing, and based on the activity level, the message, the targeting, you now will start to understand, is it an activity problem? Is it a messaging problem? Is it a targeting problem? Is the target too broad? Is the message too weak? And that's when the strategy really comes into play. When we were able to diagnose it, we're first able to understand, like, look, this is not just a channel problem. There's a deeper problem here around your messaging and your targeting. If you don't solve these, you can still spend money on ads. You can still spend thousands of dollars on ads, and you can spend thousands of emails and burn your brand, but it won't work and you'll hurt yourself. You're better off revamping the strategy based on what we've learned. So based on that conversation, we were then able to shift into much more proactive discussion about, cool, how do we actually revamp the strategy? And beautifully, this all lines up with the exact framework that I always teach in this channel. The first thing that we did, and this is actually in reverse order, the first thing that we did is we actually revamped their ICP. Here's the thing. You can do all the activities and then move on to another channel and do more activities, but the ICP is the first piece that helps us understand which channel do we go after and what is the differentiated message we bring to them. A lot of times people just skip this part and just go straight into the activity and pick a bunch of channels with a pretty okay message, and it never works, and they waste months doing this. So when we revamped the strategy, we went back to, let's actually figure out what your ICP is, your ideal customer profile. Because I know the better the ICP is, remember, this compounds, right? The better the targeting is, which is your ICP, the better the message is going to be. The better the message is going to be, the better the activities are going to be, the more effective they will be. If the targeting is terrible, then you are basically taking a left when you should have taken a right, and you just waste months doing the wrong thing. So the first thing that we did was we revamped their ICP. And when you revamp, everyone thinks they have an ICP until they do it with me. When you revamp the ICP, we got really detailed on exactly what makes that buyer move and what is going on in their world. Based on that, then we revamped their messaging and their value proposition. And this is what I call their manifesto. And the manifesto essentially is 6 to 8 slides, and every manifesto is different, but has core principles on how to build them. It actually revamps your messaging on why they should buy now, what's different about you, what happens if they don't do this, and a bunch of other things that really drives that message home on exactly why you and why now for whoever you're putting this in front of. When we did these two things, we then had a much more revamped strategy. And also, because we understood the ICP better, and because we understood our message better, we were then able to choose what channels we were going to go after. So that's what the third piece is, which is a Broadway show. And a Broadway show is, instead of just saying, we're going to do this channel, and then we're going to do this channel, we're going to do this channel, that didn't work, let's do this. You get all scattered. A Broadway show is a consistent set of sales and marketing activities that you run every single week to bring your manifesto to your ICP. That's what you do. And that makes sure that you don't get scatterbrained. That makes sure that you have the right messaging, the right targeting. And also part of this is you're picking the right channel. And turns out the channel was just fine. The messaging was the problem. People looked at it, but it didn't compel them to take action. That's why they were getting engagement, but there was no conversion. People were like looking at it like, oh, that's cool. But they were like, cool, I'm gonna keep moving. I'm gonna keep scrolling. This is why they were doing outbound, and people may have looked at it just like in social, but they were like, I'm not gonna take any action on this. But when you actually revamp the ICP, you come up with a better message. When you come up with a better message, then you can pick the right channels to go after in a consistent basis without second guessing yourself, and consistently you're bringing your manifesto to your ICP on a weekly basis. And the best part about this was we put that into play, and they immediately started to see more traction in the market. One of the best ways that I know that we've hit right on the messaging and the manifesto and the ICP is when the founder comes back and says, you know what, we were running through the deck. We have some founders that are product-led, some founders that are sales-led. These guys were sales-led. They're like, we were running through the deck and there were a lot more head nods. People were getting it. People were really interested in it. I'm like, yeah, that's when you know you hit the messaging. And because we actually established some key metrics that they could measure, based on these metrics, they were then able to iterate. Whereas before, when we first started with these outcomes, they were like, we're just gonna move to this other channel because we lost a whole bunch of money here. They were being all scatterbrained. Instead, they were able to look at these specific metrics and say, cool, here's what's working, here's what's not, here's how we diagnose, here's how we iterate. And they were able to get better and better and better and better and better. And that is the power of revamping your go-to-market strategy in a much more systematic way, especially when you've got some revenues, but it's not quite converting. And the sooner you do this, the less time you're gonna waste on ad dollars, on burning your brand by sending a whole bunch of outbound emails to people that are like, oh my God, these guys are terrible. I never want to hear from them again, right? Because the messaging didn't hit. And also just wasting time on social content, wasting money on social, like doing all these things, and then wasting even more time moving on to something new without having learned from it. But if you actually look at your outcomes and then you figure out, is it my activity? Is it my messaging? Is it my targeting? Which one do I need to fix? And based on those insights, you then say, cool, let me revamp my ICP and my manifesto, and then I'll run my Broadway show and track the right metrics and iterate. Then you will have a much more scalable go-to-market strategy so you can drive growth. And this is the framework that I've used in my own SaaS businesses. This is the framework I use now in any company that I run. And this is the framework that I use with any founder that I work with inside of my go-to-market program. So now you know the 3 principles that will help you understand what is wrong with your go-to-market strategy. What you may not know is how to fix it. You may not know what is my ICP and how should it look and how do I do a proper ICP process. What you may not know is what should my messaging be? What's my value prop? What's my manifesto? How do I drive urgency in deals so I have higher conversion rates and shorten my deal cycles? What you may not know is what channels do I pick? How do I measure whether they're working? And how do I iterate? This is exactly why I created my SaaS go-to-market coaching program. Inside this program, we work together to ensure that you are able to revamp your go-to-market strategy and execute on it so that you can scale your growth. Instead of just guessing, we take a very systematic approach to make sure that you're doing the right steps and not wasting time on the wrong areas. So if you want to learn more about the program, just go to tkkader.com/GTM. tkkader.com/GTM. It's an incredible program. You'll get all of the details over there. You'll get exactly how it works and what you need to actually be eligible for it. And then you'll fill a little form to get on a phone call. A program like this, we want to make sure we can actually help you. So on the phone call, we'll dig into exactly where you are in the business, what you're struggling with. And if it sounds like we can help you, we are off to the races. We'll help you revamp your go-to-market strategy and get to work on scaling your growth right away. Super simple. Just go to tkkader.com/GTM. And in there, you'll get all of the details. If you got value from this video, please smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm. It really likes it when you do that. Also, if you have a fellow founder, if you have a fellow team member, if you're part of a Slack community or WhatsApp group with other founders that will get value from this video, please share this with them. We put a lot of love into these videos and it would just mean the world to me and my team if you were to share this video with them. We want to help as many people as possible. Also, I drop an episode like this every single Sunday with actionable strategies and tactics from the trenches with working with actual founders and actually having been in your shoes as a founder. So be sure to hit that subscribe button and that bell icon. That way you'll get notified every single time I drop an episode. And lastly, remember, everyone needs a strategy for their life and their business. When you are with us, yours is gonna be unstoppable. I'm TK, and I'll see you in the next episode or inside of the Go-to-Market program, where we get to work together to scale your go-to-market machine and scale your SaaS business.